2:33. Oh, it works. 2:33, and we are going to be starting our first in-person College Senate meeting in 18 months. So welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And as we start today's meeting, I'm looking for the mouse. I'm sorry. Here it is. As we start today's meeting, I wanted to spend a couple minutes at the beginning to memorialize a few of our members that have passed on. Cooper Lansing, Regina Lettieri, and then Helen Singh. I'm going to ask Patty Kaiser just to say a few words about Cooper.
Hi. You never know how much you're going to miss somebody until it's time to miss them, because I was telling Colleen, over the last 2 weeks, there have been a dozen times when I would have picked up the phone and said, Cooper, you got to help me make this happen, and Cooper would have helped me make it happen. So instead of asking you all to keep a moment of silence in the great Professor Lansing's memory, I ask you to do what he did, and that's speak out. Cooper was a warrior. He was a pain in the words I can't say in public space on record, but he was certainly a pain to everyone here at one time or another. But he spoke the truth to power. He rattled the establishment, and he was never silent. So don't be silent. Speak out, speak the truth to power, and stand up. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Bill?
Could I also mention Cindy Galvin recently passed away as well. She was a longtime employee in the IT department.
Thank you. Nathan Wallace is here to say a few words about Regina.
Thank you. So in March, we lost a longtime colleague and friend. Regina Lettieri coordinated service learning and other civic engagement activities for the college, and I was fortunate to be her supervisor for a short time. Regina was passionate. She was a passionate advocate for students and for her colleagues. She was fiery, and she'd be the first to tell you that her outspokenness sometimes rubbed people the wrong way. But I appreciated the fact that I never had to guess what Regina was thinking, because she always told me. Regina loved to see a community service project come together, because she saw how it benefited students and the entire Western New York community. So she would be very happy to know that we're moving forward with proposing a civic and community engagement committee today to continue her important work. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. And then I would like to speak on behalf of Helen Singh. She was a chemistry professor. Back in 1997, I took University Chem 1 and 2 and the labs with Mrs. Singh, Professor Singh. And she was one tough cookie. But she also embraced students like they were her own children. And then as I came back as an employee, we discussed all the different things that we had in common with our children. But she also, because I made copies in her office suite, knew who to come talk to when she saw that there was something going on that needed changing, especially at South Campus. She was passionate about our campus, and she wanted it to be the best for our students and wasn't afraid to speak out. And I think that's something that's really important about the people that work here, our senators, our union leaders across the board, as well as our administrators and staff. We are a passionate group of people. We love where we work. We love working for our students, and it's with that excitement that I hope we can continue the work and continue all we can do for our students. So thank you to them. Speaking about adding to some passion, we have 3 SGA officers. I'm not sure if they were able to join us today, but Andrew Gonzalez Kennedy is our South Campus VP. Angelica May Cooper is our City Campus VP. And then Mohammed Sadiq is our North Campus. Welcome. Thank you, Mohammed. Would you like to say any few words on behalf of SGA?
Glad to be here.
We are as well. Thank you so much for joining us and finding time in your schedule. Okay, so with that, just a couple of notes in case you forgot. And so far, everyone's been doing amazing. You have to talk into the microphone. It doesn't matter how loud you are or how well you can project. The stream doesn't pick it up. So if you need to speak, if you're in the front few, hit the button. And if you're in the back and you need to speak, there's the 2 mics in the back. A couple of other things that are going to be on the agenda. I'll give you a little bit of a preview. But we're going to be talking about our middle state self-study. Erickson Nealons will be here in a little bit. And I just wanted to pass along what Dr. Adiam Sagai has shared with me, is that she's so impressed and so lucky to be working with such dedicated faculty and staff as we get together and finish out this middle states report. She's had people across the board calling her and emailing her, what can I do? Name it, I'm there. And it's just awesome, and again, shows the awesome work that all of us do together. With that, also with recruitment and retaining our students, people are reaching out the same way. How can I help? How can I help retain our students? What can I do? What do you want me to do? So with that, I would like for you to please email all of your students that have not attended your class yet this semester. It's that personal touch. Please email any student online or seated, or just all of your class in general, but perhaps just that 1 or 2 in your class. You have their phone numbers, call them, get them in the door. That is the best way that we can help our students, our numbers, our bottom line, is by making sure those students walk in the door. Now, today's the last day of drop ad. Maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they have 10,000 things going on and they don't know who to talk to. Being that point of contact for those students is a tremendous responsibility that we all have. And I urge you, email, call them, get them in the door, ask them what they need from us to be successful. And let's get them in touch with whoever it is to help get them to be successful. With that, and Andy and Nessie's going to address this a little bit further too, but we have the 3rd week roster reports are going to be coming out next week through Starfish. They're up, they're ready to rock and roll for next week. And my goal for you is, before you fill those out, reach out to your students once, twice, thrice. Reach out to them, get them in the door before you fill out that report, okay? Additionally, Bill sent an email out earlier today about COVID and COVID cards with our students. Please remind them that they need to be vaccinated by September 27th. If they have a conflict at all, they are to discuss it with the deans of students at each campus, all right? So if they're a South Campus student, they talk to Amy Yoder. If they are a City Campus student, they talk to Patrina Hill-Cheatham. If they are a North Campus student, they talk to Jason Perry. There are things that they can do and work with them to get them to be where they need to be. And it's in the deans of students' hands, and Adiam has worked with them with what to do for our students with any sort of conflicts with COVID vaccination. Also, I would like to urge everyone, again, I'm handing out jobs. On the email that Bill had sent out, it also was sent out by my Dean Joanne, so thank you again for that. There is a link. If there's any way you can maybe push that out to your students in class, have them pull it up on their phone, take a picture, send that in. I know for myself and for my kids that are vaccinated, I have a picture of it saved on their phones as a favorite in case they need to display it at any point in time. A lot of our students do too. It was a barrier for them to have to make a copy and bring the card in. We have fixed that barrier and removed it. Please share with your students this link and spend a couple minutes in your class tomorrow through the week encouraging them to get that in. We are at about 35% compliance We need it to be higher. We would like it to be up to 75. The sooner, the better for all of us. All right, with that, it's wonderful to see everybody. Thank you for coming, and I would like to turn it over at this point in time to our interim president, Bill Reuter.
Thank you, Colleen. And you said much of what I was going to mention. Just thank you for everybody stepping up. Thank you for all the assistance and everything we're doing at SUNY Erie. Thank you for the assistance in recruitment. Thank you for the assistance in Middle States. I sense a different giddy-up in people's gallop, and it's in a very positive direction. We've had a lot of changes since I've been back last July 1st. I think I counted maybe 11 or my 13 sort of direct reports are no longer at the college for one reason or another. So there's a big changeover. My goal as interim president was to right the ship, and I think the ship is being righted. And it's not just me, it's not just senior staff, it's everybody at this college. So I personally thank everyone for stepping up in everything they do. We will lean on you more and more and more. I think the transparency at this institution has really changed dramatically, and you're the closest to the students. We sit in our, behind our desk. We're not interacting on a day-to-day basis with the students, so you know the students best. So thank you for that. Presidential search, for those that were not at convocation or did not hear the chairwoman speak, the search the search committee has been reconvened. They are meeting on October 5th to go through resumes, and then I believe they're scheduled for an October 25th, 26th, interviews with candidates that will be shortlisted. The plan is to have the final 3 to 5 candidates on campus sometime during the month of November. Again, for those that may not be knowledgeable of the process, the SUNY Board of Trustees is the entity that actually approves the president at any SUNY community or four-year college. And then the College Board of Trustees would go along with that recommendation, but they would forward the names to SUNY. As far as enrollment, the numbers have jumped all over the place. They're starting to look somewhat better, and by saying somewhat better, when you're saying you're down 7 and 8% from last year and it's somewhat better, that's not good, but we continue to hemorrhage enrollment. It was a lot worse a few days ago, so it is getting a little better, but it's a moving target, as you mentioned, drop add, but we have a lot of changeover. Our students come to the party very late, so over the next 2 weeks, we'll still have some changes to the numbers. We have not enrolled any of our advanced study students, so those numbers are going to change. I'm not going to mention vaccinations, but our numbers are, for staff and faculty, closing in on 80%, which is incredible. So thank you all. A week ago, Friday, Colleen Quinn got a late call or text from me Thursday, hey, can you come? The chancellor's on campus Friday morning at North Campus. So thank you, Colleen. We had good representation. We had 3 trustees, including our student trustee. We had the county executive with us and the whole time, and then the SUNY trustee, Eunice Lewin, and the chancellor was here. He engaged in a conversation with us for about half an hour in the North Campus boardroom, and that was followed by a tour. And our tour guides, faculty tour guides at the STEM building, and I'll call it the Tony D'Alessio building, just killed it. The chancellor just loved it, and somebody was talking cannabis during the tour, and the chancellor may want to take his class remotely. He didn't own up to anything in his childhood, but he left that out there. So I appreciate it. It was a good discussion, and we showed SUNY Erie for what we are. Unfortunately, we didn't have students here, but we did engage in conversations with a few students that were walking the campus. Kelly Andolino was giving a tour to a few students, so it was nice. And I'll just close. Hopefully, we have a great semester. I know it's into the second week going on, and I thank you all. And take some extra time for your students. Reach out to them, not just about, never attends the vaccination, are they having issues? get them engaged in Starfish, and just thank you for everything you do for the college. Appreciate it. And I'm always open for questions, emails, and calls. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Interim President Bill Reuter? He's on the hot spot. No? All right, looks like you're good to go. I'm going to call on Mark Pacholik for our COVID-19 update, please.
Does that work?
Yeah, good
Okay.
job.
Thank you. I'll start off with the county updates. The county still has a vaccine site open Monday through Friday at South Campus, the old DMV office in Building 7. That's open from noon to 4 every day, Monday through Friday. We still have one more pod. It's a closed pod for staff and students. That'll be here this Thursday from 10 to 2 at City and North campuses. Our pod yesterday was kind of disappointing. City had a whopping 9 and North had a whopping 3 students show up. So we're starting to see some decrease there. As the president and Colleen have mentioned, our staff rate for vaccination is approaching 80%. Our student rate is approaching 35%. I do believe those are higher rates. A lot of those cards haven't got into the system yet. So that's the percentages as of yesterday. Keep in mind we have to have masks. You know, we do get complaints in campus safety. Please remind your students. Any student that has a physical presence on campus has to have those vaccines, that series completed by the 27th. They risk being removed from campus from online learning if they don't have that done. If they have any questions regarding that, as Colleen said, we're going to work through the deans of students. Any student who has not completed their vaccine series yet or has been granted a religious or medical exemption still has to pool test weekly. Now, I took a look at our exemptions. We had just over 300 religious and medical exemptions as of this afternoon. We've worked through about 70 of them. Amy, myself, Dean Perry, and Patty Lucido and the nurses will work through the rest of them this Friday. That window closed. They had to have everything in by the 9th. So we're not accepting any more religious or medical exemptions. Any staff who have not turned in their vaccine cards, please get those in also. We do have some that we are aware of that are in that case. And if staff are not vaccinated, again, you still need to weekly pool test. Comment about the pool testing. Please try to schedule that. Go to the app and schedule it prior. We're having a staffing issue with pool testing, and we need to know when to have staff there. We need to know when that capacity is going to be needed. If any area needs masks or cleaning supplies, go through the help desk just like you would anything else. We have plenty of masks and plenty of decontamination and cleaning supplies. Contact tracing. Yesterday, Amy Yoder, Chris Lauka, and Renee Hockenberry were very busy. They had to make over 80 phone calls up to and including 9 p.m. last night. We had a lot of reports of possible contacts in classes. I can't emphasize what work they're doing. They're doing a yeoman's job. Unfortunately, we're going to lose Chris. He is going to be moving on to another job with the county. And I'm looking for a volunteer who likes to work evenings and weekends and, you know, be on call. Everybody's laughing at me on that one. Thanks. One of the things we did find out is some of our numbers and emails in the databases, whether it's a student or staff database, they're not accurate. We still do not have updated phone numbers on some of our staff, and that makes contact tracing very hard. Campus Clear. Campus Clear still has to be used daily for those that aren't vaccinated or anyone who is feeling like they have a symptom of COVID. Our contact tracers check that every morning around 9:30 and then every afternoon around 2:30. And if somebody says they've been exposed or they believe they're positive or they have symptoms, they're going to get a phone call and a follow-up to determine what the issue is. Pool testing. We still need 12 4-hour shifts covered primarily at North. So we're still looking for volunteers to fill that. If you would like to be involved in that, please get a hold of Kim Machalski. Did I say that right? Andy's nodding yes. Thank you. The last thing I'm going to throw at you is be flexible. Amy and I coined a term at the beginning of this about 18 months ago, semper gumby, always flexible. Our county positivity rate 2 days ago was 4.54%. Today it's 4.71%. That's a 7-day rolling average. It continues to tick up every day. I suspect we're going to be throwing some curveballs. We have to be ready for that. We have to make sure our students are prepared for that. So be prepared. Any questions for me? Yes, sir.
I know that we were doing like Campus Clear on the apps. Is that still going on?
Campus Clear is still going on for anybody who's not vaccinated and for anybody who feels they have symptoms.
All right.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Wow, that's surprising. That was easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And to Mark's point about being flexible and semper gumby, if you checked out the agenda ahead of time, one of the things that we're going to be talking about today are ways to manage teaching in the semester and supporting our students and being flexible because the positivity rates are going up outside of our buildings, and it is something that we need to think about. Okay, old business, Michael Rio for the governance committee.
Are we good with not wearing masks for the mics, or can you hear me all right? Okay, yeah.
What?
You can take it off to speak into the microphone.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to be the spreader in this meeting. All right, so we're accepting nominations for executive committee. We have a vacancy. Those nominations can be sent to Senate governance at ecc.edu, can be sent to Colleen or myself, and can be made on the Senate floor next week or later today. Just let me know. And we'll be continuing to work to fill vacancies. So there may be existing vacancies in your division, and we'll reach out to people to get those filled as soon as possible. Governance worked on bylaws changes, moving academic committees to the Senate, and we'll continue that work with academic assessment and academic standards in the near future. And that's a governance update.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to just keep on rolling and have Michael update us on Starfish.
Okay, so there's...
Sorry, Amy
that's
couldn't
fine.
be here.
So there is a document that was sent in earlier today, like an hour ago, for Starfish. It's a final report, but it's really a report that's recommending a transition from the Starfish Task Force to an advisory board or an academic Starfish committee of the Senate. The mandate for the Starfish Task Force was to identify workflow in the Starfish, how flags were raised, which flags were being raised, how faculty was using Starfish, how those flags were being managed, management of workflow, closing of flags, bulk clearing of flags. It seems that we haven't been really doing a very good job of managing flags in Starfish. We haven't clearly defined workflow or followed that workflow consistently. And the bulk clearing of flags in the last 6 years of 127,000 flags, about 95% of those have been bulk cleared, which means students aren't being contacted, and the data that we're collecting isn't allowing us to use Starfish for predictive analysis, so we can identify at-risk students and build that data within our system. There are details that we were able to take from the reporting from Starfish EAB that helped us identify which units were reporting, turning in midterm and third week roster reports. And again, those numbers are lower than we would like to see, lower than the SUNY-wide benchmark. So efforts in the future will need to address all the functions of Starfish that we currently have access to, finding ways to improve usage, and perhaps revisiting how we're using Starfish and what sort of options we may have in a new learning management system, or maybe needing to include more predictive analysis in Starfish so it works more effectively. Questions? Or if you worked on the Starfish Task Force, if there's anything I missed, please share that. So I guess questions or comments.
Greg?
I see in those reader boards that we have in the halls that it looks like, I mean, I use Starfish, I was on the committee, and it seems like they're recruiting students or encouraging students to contact us through Starfish. I'm not sure that the students know how to do that. So is there going to be any, I mean, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to tell a student to go through Starfish to make a report.
Greg, one of the recommendations that the Starfish Task Force has made is we really need to see a relaunch of Starfish. Marketing to faculty, marketing to students. The administrative lead for Starfish is Amy Yoder is now taking on that role. So we would really need some updates from administration to see how that relaunch is going to look. There were maybe higher expectations earlier in the summer. Starfish doesn't seem to be fully ready to go yet. I'm not sure what the functionality is at this point. I know that we're hoping to include attendance reports, third week rosters, and at this point, the relaunch to students or relaunch to faculty really just hasn't happened yet. That will probably happen in stages. But that was missing in the initial launch of Starfish, and we'd like to see a full relaunch.
Right. Thank you, Michael. And one of the things that Amy Yoder had said is that we're probably going to try to relaunch it for the spring semester. Right now, we're working on the functionality between Workday and Starfish. And then right now, if faculty can utilize two things, just taking attendance, because that helps us with contact tracing, and then, of course, the third week rosters. And then, stand by for more Starfish moving forward later on. Okay. Guided Pathways update, Andy and Essie.
Thanks, Colleen. Just to go back to our previous institute, for those of you that are aware, we started this project a little over 2 years ago, a 5-institute process over that 3-year time period. Purpose was really to embrace and engage in some practices that are considered best practices among persistence and graduation, right from the beginning of a student's experience all the way to the end of their career here, and then on to 4-year or career. So we did complete the first 2 institutes. You may recall I did present a few different times at Senate. Our first institute really focused around identifying our program clusters. How can students clearly identify what their career path is based on a set of programs, which we did that work. We did get that live on our website, and you will see that there today. The second institute really focused around career and transfer pathways, which with the inclusion of Workday, academic planning, career coach, we were able to incorporate a lot of Institute 2 practices into our operations here at SUNY Erie. So that brought us to Institute 3, which took place on April 15th and 16th. The topic of Institute 3 was onboarding students to pathways. One of the first tasks was for us to examine our steps and process regarding intake. What does a student go through as they raise their hand and first become interested in attending the institution? How hard is that process? What's the student think of that process, and where can we improve? We identified that there were 7 steps: inquiry, application, admittance, the placement or waiver process, orientation, advisement, and registration. So with that, we focused on how are we communicating these steps. And fortunately, through Workday, we do have the ability to send these timed engagements, giving students the ability to see what that next step is, and as well, it's visible to our staff and faculty through the student profile, so we never need to guess what the student has already received or not received. What were the missing pieces to that process? At the time, it was communicating financial aid. We didn't have that ability, but we were right at that point within Workday implementation where we could begin developing that communication, and some of that is now in place today. We also identified knowledge transfer opportunities. There was a need to have faculty and staff clearly understand the steps so that we can better assist students. I think we saw some of this through chair days and open registration, where we'd meet with students and for whatever reason couldn't find the student. And it all boiled down to where was that student in the process. So I think the more folks that become aware through future training opportunities of how to interpret that information, the better we can guide a student right on the spot, as opposed to sending them off to someone who may know the answer. Some of the takeaways from that institute: we determined that there was an opportunity to do some data analysis that could identify where students were falling off the path, anywhere between inquiry, acceptance, to registration of that first semester. Since Workday does allow for that analysis, it would be a great opportunity for us to see where can we infuse touch points or human contact to enhance the experience for the student. The reason we thought that way is because we did hold a focus group, and part of the feedback from the students was that of the group we sampled, they enjoyed the Workday application process. However, it was far too automated, and it did lose that human connection piece. So the students were actually saying, yes, we would like more contact with the college in a personalized manner. So hopefully between the data analysis of where we're losing students, we can infuse those touch points and that contact. As a result, there is an admissions work team that Phil Struble has put together. It's meant to establish to review the data to determine where these points should be in the process. So more to follow on that. Coming up is Institute 4. Our work team for Institute 4 has been meeting weekly or bi-weekly up through the last month and a half or so. Content of that institute is ensuring learning and that students are staying on the path, and is scheduled for September 30th and October 1st. You may have seen a keynote speaker invitation come out through CPD. That'll be taking place on September 29th and is open to all staff and faculty. The topic is transforming student success through a culture of caring and pathways. At this point, the pre-work has been done for the most part. The team has met. We've completed a lot of the analysis that focuses around really two parts: understanding the current design of student supports at the college, as well as any issues that staff, faculty, or students may have with that design. And then part two to that work is we're going to, at the institute, then look at what is the ideal design and what changes could we possibly implement. Now, all of this stems from needing to know who our students are. Many of you may have seen we sent a survey out. It was meant to go to all registered students. Purpose of that survey was to really understand who are our students, what are they going through, are there challenges, and how can we assist them. As of yesterday, we had a little over 860 respondents of our current registered population, so we are getting some good data. The survey does close this Friday, the 17th, so I would ask anyone who is in contact with students, please encourage them to participate in the survey. The more data we have, the better it will help us. And as well, we have tied together self-directed placement information for our moving forward of that project to be able to adequately design, enhance the methods that we're going to try to infuse at our college. Some of the questions that we were asked: what do handoffs to student services look like? Are staff and faculty fully trained to understand these processes if there's a student in need? And how is technology used to support these? Because all of these items intertwine together. Just as an aside, the students that do complete that survey, they are entered into a raffle. We have $50 Amazon gift cards that we are raffling off for participants. So please, again, encourage them to do that. As well, we do ask the students in the questionnaire, is there anything that you may need assistance with? And with that, the student can voluntarily raise their hand if they're asking for outreach from the college, at which time we will provide outreach and direct the student to get the appropriate support they need. So, special thank you to Brian Millville, Dave Uzinski, and Mike Rio for the work on that survey that we've been able to put out. It was done in very short order. Not sure if we've ever built a survey that quickly here, but I've been told that it seemed to happen pretty fast. So thank you for that. More to follow after Institute 4.
Great, thank you, Andy. Yeah, and Thank you, Dave and Brian. They've actually been a part of, I think, almost every institute with different things that we've been leaning on them for, as well as many others. But thank you to all the faculty and staff and administrators that have helped us with this initiative. It changes a little bit every single time, and it's a lot of hard work, and we really appreciate it. Middle States. There he is. Erickson Nealons, you're up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope it was a great start to the semester. As many of you know, we have been working on Middle States over the last 2 years. Some of you may know it more closely than others, depending on the work that you're doing. But you see this document that's here and was sent out on Convocation Day. And the first thing I wanted to say on behalf of both myself, Kathy, Audium, our entire Middle States team is a genuine thanks to the college community. As you saw, this is an extensive document. There's a lot in here, and the comments that you shared on Convocation Day, I think really spoke to that. When we analyzed and reviewed all of the feedback that we received, roughly around 90% of the comments largely aligned to what now you learned that our institution had been doing. And I think that's incredible, right? As Andy is talking about guided pathways, changes to our gen ed curriculum, changes to a variety of curriculum throughout the institution. It's just incredible to see the amount of actions that we've taken, especially even when we had, a small little pandemic to deal with over the last year or so. So I think it's really, honestly, when I see this document, it gives me such a level of pride to see what we as an entire community have been able to do over this time. And we hope that this document is an accurate reflection of all the initiatives that we have taken. We incorporated as many of those comments as we possibly could. As many of you may not be aware, there is a page limit on this document. We are limited to roughly around 100 pages or so, as well as then additional evidence that we can include to help our review team better understand us. And so far, in talking with Dr. Edwards, who is our review chair, he's out of Camden Community College in New Jersey, he has said that this document is a comprehensive analysis of the institution and is one of the documents or one of the self-study reports that he has reviewed that's at a very high level, one that he has not seen often, and with the level of detail that he's been able to provide, that we've been able to provide to him is greatly appreciated. But we're not done yet. We have to submit the document. Our intent is to submit that this week, upload evidence so that then their review team has the opportunity to read through the document and analyze our data and likely ask for additional supplements. So we're not done. It's very likely that we will call on you, and one of the things that we ask is please be available to help us. We know that you have so many things going on, other initiatives, enrollment teaching. We completely understand it, and we appreciate so many of you so far in being able to provide us information in a timely fashion. We've been told that they may ask for something, and we have a very quick turnaround time. Myself, Kathy, and Audium, as well as the other chairs, have been trying to identify what some of those things may be in preparation, but it's very likely where we will have to find something quick. So please, we ask you to help us out so that we can then accurately show this review team all the great things that we've been doing. Any questions for me or for Kathy?
All right. Well, thank you for that. And with the ask for additional evidence and things like that, one of the ways that we've been asking for to try to collect is through the Faculty Caucus of the Senate listserv. So if they need something and they need it quick, I will be kicking it out to that, as well as if we are able to identify certain individuals that may have that information. We have this pretty awesome text thread going. And we can find things pretty quick between the 3 or 4 of us. And if I don't have an answer, usually I know who has an answer, and we can find it. Eric?
And over the next few weeks, too, we are going to be utilizing some general Q&A related to Middle States to help prepare the entire institution. So please look out for those, things that we can feel help guide us as we look forward to our self-study visit, which will happen virtually at the end of October.
Awesome, great, thank you. And thank you really to everyone. And, looking back at convocation and all the conversations that were going on in all the rooms, and it was just really a great thing to be a part of. And just even about the conversation with people who are like, well, I didn't realize that we were doing this, but you know, I know this and this is happening over here, and or they could add to things that we didn't have a lot of evidence for. So everyone that took the time to go through the document and go through the different standards, the work is it's invaluable. It's just fantastic. New business, as you may recall, the college-wide curriculum committee is now a committee of the Senate, and that was a bylaw change that we had made in the spring semester. And so with that, we as a body approved the chairs or the co-chairs for that. So the co-chairs have been identified as Brian Millville and Kathy Colesto. And could I have a motion? All right, Greg, second. Jason, any discussion on this motion? Any objections to this motion? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. I forget what the name of that rule is, but Michael told me that I could do that. He's doing something today, so he couldn't be here with me. I'm sure he's going to text me and tell me what the name of the rule is. By consent. Got it. A lot of my vocabulary has been all used up being in the classroom, and it's like taking me to think of words off the top of my head a lot, and then all the boys, all four of my boys are playing football now too, so I'm like spinning out of control. I got all these balls in the air. So yeah, so by consent, it's passed. Thank you, Brian and Kathy, for taking on that role. Thank you very much, because that's another really big committee with a lot of hard work. All right, 3-week rosters. Andy is going to give us the why. Why should you do this, other than it's a great idea? But what happens if you do not do the 3rd-week roster?
You're making me the bad guy.
No, I think the people that don't fill it out are the bad guy.
Well, so just a quick update regarding 3-week rosters, so folks are aware. The instructions are going to be sent by this Thursday. We're just shoring up some of the language as well. There'll be instructions on how to submit those progress surveys through Starfish. That process has not changed. For those that are co-teaching courses, you may have noticed that your ability to access those rosters in Starfish has been limited or non-existent. So we have gone through the process in the registrar's offices today, actually trying to go through all the courses that were built with co-instructors to ensure that we could get those to feed over to Starfish. So if by tomorrow if you are co-instructing a course and cannot pull up your roster, please contact the registrar's office via email or call directly, and we can get that fixed for you. Okay? The due date for those will be September 24th, which is next Friday. It's a very short turnaround time. But we know that we inevitably see rosters coming in the following week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it does take time to process. So please, if you can adhere to that date, that would be fantastic. Now, as far as not reporting goes, I've been, for those of you that know, in the registrar's office for a little over a month, and it was my first week on the job that a student called and said, I want to come back to school, but I can't. I have a balance. I never attended school the last semester I was here. And it turns out that 3 of the 4 instructors submitted non-attendance for the student, and the 4th one just did not submit. So we've now created an issue for the student to return, as well as a record on their transcript for that course. So moral of the story is, if you generally don't submit that roster, please do so. The downstream impact with collections, with billing, with the student grades, and with the ability to return is a hindrance to the student. So I would please say, submit those never attend rosters. As well, it's important that department chairs are in communication with adjunct faculty to ensure that adjunct faculty are aware of this process as well. Very well could be that a faculty member is just not sure of the process or hasn't been gently tapped to complete it. So I would encourage you to encourage them to complete these. That's all I've got.
Great, thank you very much. And just with that financial piece, there's also the financial aid. So if the students don't use the financial aid, but we get the financial aid in our revenue, then we have to pay it back, right? So that is also very unhelpful to our bottom line. And again, those are some of the things that we can control that can assist the college with helping our students and helping our bottom line. Michael Rio, you had a question?
I do have a quick question. I don't know if this can be addressed in this meeting, but can we have a definition of when we should apply never attended? I mean, is it a student never attends, or is a student maybe missing in action? Should we be more liberal in applying that and then let the student get back into the class, which is a better process?
I'm going to invoke Paul Lamana here. I feel like he's going to appear. So Paul always answered this question with, it's better to take them out because you can always send an email to the registrar's office to put them back in. It hurts them along down the line by leaving them in. So just historically for myself, if I only see a student once or twice and then it's on the roster time, again, that's where we make that phone call and try to get that personal touch to see what's going on, why that student's not coming in. But again, it's easier to put them back than dealing with it later on. Derek?
So if we're going to err in taking them out, because we can always fix it.
Correct. Bill? Bill Nichols, sorry.
Is it? Because with the conversation with the registrars yesterday that I had, they're not sure how easy that is for them after tomorrow or after
Andy?
today.
We do have the ability to add.
Great.
Thank you. Greg?
So is Andy saying we do it through Workday? Because Workday doesn't seem very flexible.
Starfish. Starfish. The directions are going to be coming to all the department chairs with how to do it through Starfish. And those are up, ready to rock and roll. Amy Yoder texted me, said they are ready to go. Please do them through Starfish. Linda?
I have a question about, didn't you used to do like cancellations on non-payment?
Yes, that's
Okay,
a
so-
separate conversation.
But the
Yes.
situation you're talking about is a student who did not pay his bill.
No, this would be students that are not in attendance in their courses.
Okay, but you were saying that he had a bill that was overdue?
The-
What did that have to do with the story?
So the student had never attended any courses. One instructor did not submit the never attend documentation. Thus, the student was left with tuition liability for the single course that they had never attended.
Oh, okay, I got you. Never mind.
Right, so the bill holdover put a hold on the student's account to prevent them from being able to register for this semester. Jason?
I was just going to emphasize again what you said at the beginning. If we can contact these students starting now, some of them are just lost, some of them don't know where to go to log in, if it's an online course or whatever. If we can start reaching out to them now, there may be a lot fewer NAs when it comes time to do it. So, and that answers some of the question about, well, should I NA or not? Because now you've at least tried to reach out to them.
Exactly. So with that student that you're not sure and they've only seen him once or twice, or you got an email here or there, that's the one you want to call on the phone and see what's happening. Andy?
Just one other comment. Students do have the ability to update contact information within Workday. So as you're talking to students in your classes, please ask them, do a review, take a look at your account, make sure nothing's changed while they're here. We very well could make some corrections or have the student make a correction on their profile so that if we do need to reach them later, we can before they just perhaps disappear.
Bill?
With the vaccination requirement by students, the whole attendance taking and notifying students and interacting with students is going to be critical because I'm not sure everyone knows, SUNY requires a financial liability for every week a student attends. So if a student is attending and they're into the second or third week of school and have chosen not to get vaccinated and they're required to, they have a financial liability and they will be removed from class. So it's critical that we're all in sync on this monitoring of student attendance and their vaccination status.
Great, thank you. Okay, so next up, we have the Civic and Community Engagement with Nate Wallace. Do you want to talk a little bit about the resolution before we put a motion on the floor?
Definitely. Want to give you a little bit of history behind this new committee resolution. So before the November election, as part of the college's All-In Democracy Challenge efforts, a group of faculty and staff came together to implement a new voter engagement strategies. So the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge is a nationwide effort to get more college students to register to vote and then vote. So we're a part of that, and as a part of that, we accomplished some things over the past year or so. So just to mention a few here, we utilized a grant-funded program to implement TurboVote software, which is a one-stop shop for students to learn how to register and vote. We held the first Erie Community Conversations event in spring 2021. The focus of this discussion was democracy. We promoted National Voter Registration Day on September 22nd and Vote Early Day on October 24th. We incorporated democratic engagement info into a section of GS 111. And we created a civic engagement page on my ECC. So we want to continue this work and expand it. So we want to do that by giving this group more firm footing at the college and longevity by making it a committee of the College Senate. So should I read the resolution or just let people read it?
I can run through it quick, or you can, whatever.
Okay. So it says, whereas civic learning and civic engagement are critical components of a higher education experience, and whereas students who participate in curricular and co-curricular applied learning, such as civic engagement, activities perform better academically, and whereas four-year college and university admissions offices prefer to admit students who have participated in meaningful civic engagement activities, and whereas employers are demanding that employees have the transferable skills that civic engagement activities impart to students, and whereas SUNY Erie students, programs, and services benefit from closer connections with community partners, now therefore be it resolved that a Senate Civic and Community Engagement Committee be established to provide a central planning and implementation team consisting of students, faculty, and staff. This
Awesome.
committee will identify, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
All right, so can I have a motion on the floor to approve this resolution? Derek, Mary Angela, thank you. All right, further discussion. Is there anything else you would like to add, Nate?
I don't think so. I think we've got a great group here, but I've already got some more interest from faculty that we may be able to expand the committee. So, yeah, I'm all for that.
Definitely. Any questions? Any comments? Pat Ryan.
Just quickly here, should we have names in here or just the makeup of the committee? I mean, I have no problems with any of the individuals, but shouldn't the resolution have a makeup of the committee and not specific individuals? You know what I mean? I mean, 3 to 4 faculty, however.
Yeah, the reason I put the names in, I don't know if this is correct or not, just wanted to make sure that these people get the opportunity to continue since we've already been.
Again, I
working
have
together.
no objection to the people. I just think the resolution should be a makeup of a committee and not individuals in the committee. Right?
All right.
That's my only concern.
Would you like to make a motion to edit?
Well, I would like Nate to edit it because I know what makeup he wants here. I don't want to change what he's doing here. I just want to.
A motion to remove the names?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so there is a new motion on the floor.
No, no problem.
No, it makes sense. New motion on the floor to edit this or amend amend this resolution to remove the names but leave the positions on there. Does anyone have any discussion on the edit? We're going to try a different, Bill Nichols.
To go a little further with Pat's point though, but does that tell us the makeup of the committee for future? What if somebody of these individuals leave, who, and how would we make up that committee? I'm not into all the governance laws or bylaws and whatnot for makeups of committee, but it seems like for future proofing purposes, there should be an outline for.
No, that's true. Well, the one thing that's we can do in the future is if the makeup of the committee is to change, then we could also put through another resolution at that time to amend this resolution.
I also don't have a problem with people.
Okay, so all in favor of the motion to remove the names from this resolution, say aye. Or raise your hand, or raise the hand, okay. Erica said raise your hand. God, Pat, it's your motion. Those not in favor? What's the third one? Any abstentions? All right, the motion to edit passes. With the understanding that if the makeup of the committee changes in the future, that the resolution will be amended. Hang on. We're back to the original motion on the floor. So the original motion on the floor, now that we approved our amendment, is to approve this resolution. Any discussion? Linda Perrell.
If that's going to be the list, that would exclude me from possibly being on the committee if I wanted to be. So I suggest maybe just putting instructor and then blank, or instructors, professors and blank or something. You know, instead of saying where the instructor or the professor comes from.
Yep, I could add some instructor spots on there that aren't specific.
All right, so Linda, would you like to make a motion on the floor to amend the membership of this committee to change instructor general studies to teaching faculty, and then that implies plural?
Yes.
Okay, Sabrina?
Could we just parallel the language with the students, say 2 to 3 teaching faculty, 2 to 3 people from student services, and then I think it's probably worth naming the Dean of Students and Director of Applied Learning specifically.
So would you like to amend Linda's amendment? I'm sorry. That should do it. Any discussion on this amendment to the resolution? All in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Real quick.
Oh.
No, sorry. There you go. Would it be possible to amend to also include non-teaching faculty?
But they got to do that in another amendment, so hang on. All right, so look at you guys are like, Michael Delaney's going to be so proud of me and my Robert's rules. All right, so the current motion is to approve additional membership change to 2 to 3 teaching faculty members. All those in favor? Not in favor. Abstentions? It passes. Allison, would you like to make a motion to one of these additions?
Yes, could we make it to be non-teaching, another one to be non-teaching faculty? I do see there's a professor for Library Resource Center. Is it possible that could just be reworded as non-teaching faculty?
You're talking about the first bullet, right?
The first bullet?
Yeah.
So we'll say 2 to 3 non-teaching faculty members, and then that covers the librarian's office as well as any other non-teaching that would like to.
Can we keep the one spot for a librarian specifically in there? Yes.
All right. Bill Nichols, not, you guys are like right in the same line.
Yeah.
So I say your name, and it looks like I'm looking at you, but I'm not. I'm looking at,
Would that just include the project coordinators then and the non-teaching, or that wouldn't be the faculty then, so would it be administrators for the project coordinators to just keep continuity across?
I think we're good with leaving it as project coordinators because those are specific, and they're not non-teaching. I believe they're AAECC.
Then can we take out the 2 so that it's, in case somebody
Wait, which
gets
one?
hired in for project coordinator 2 north, then it should just say project coordinator and not the second position of it, in case somebody comes in at a lower position and gets hired and then is in that spot?
Sure.
I think we're experiencing like a need to just generalize in general.
Yes. All right, I think this was like an amendment and an amendment. So how's this amendment? All in favor? Those opposed? Abstentions? All right, this new membership is what it's going to be. Back to the original resolution or motion, which is to approve this resolution now in its current format. All in Michael Rio.
I'm really sorry to do this, but as a
No,
point
you're
of
not.
clarification, so this is a resolution to get this committee off the ground, and if it were to be a bylaws change, we're going to have to revisit this and get it into the bylaws at some point.
Correct. This is just a resolution to make a committee not impacting the Senate bylaws. Okay. All in favor? Those opposed? And the motion passes. Yay.
All right.
Thank you, Nate.
All right, thank you, everybody. Just want to call your attention to the quote, I came across this quote that I like here. Short and sweet, academic learning plus civic engagement equals student and community success. So I look forward to working with everybody to do that.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, and I saved this, and when I forget to email you the current copy, Nate, tomorrow, feel free to email me. Oh, good, Erica has it too, because she's the best. All right, so we're on to one of the last things on our agenda, and I called it a guided discussion on teaching through possible COVID-19 scenarios and how we can continue to serve our students. So, do you want to, no, I'm going to call on Mark.
Can everybody still hear me? All right. 2 possible, 1 definitely probable scenario is an individual class We had dealt with a couple of classes yesterday, and it came very close to having that class go in isolation or quarantine for a 10-day period. That's a very real possibility during this semester. So you have to be prepared to say, hey, just in case, something happens, if we can't be here the next 2 physical weeks, here's what we're going to do. That's situation number 1. Situation number 2, which I pray doesn't happen, but it's beyond my control, is that we have to pivot back to a fully remote type of process. So I want to know what your thoughts are as far as dealing with your students if you've got to shut down for a 10-day period.
Awesome, thank you. And there's also the individuals that could possibly be quarantined based on
It's already happened to 4.
4?
Yeah.
Exactly, so if we have a student that
And that's
goes
not counting
out-
staff, that's just students. Yes, sir.
Jim?
So if an individual's been vaccinated, fully vaccinated, which means if you had the 2-shot series, it's been 14 days since your second shot, or if you had the Johnson & Johnson 1-shot series, it's been 14 days since that. If you've already had the vaccination, you do not have to isolate unless you are, that's all right, unless you are showing, outward signs, coughing and everything else. A lot of the breakthrough cases are what we call asymptomatic cases. People don't know they have them. If a person hasn't been vaccinated, well, then they're going to go into what the Erie County Health Department calls isolation. It's for 10 days. And they have to be symptomatic free for 72 hours towards the end of that period. Does that answer your question? Or would you like me to email that to you? Email?
I have an additional question for you.
I know there was going to be questions.
I already know the answer, but
The answer's 3.
It's 7. No, so
I'm not going to argue math with you.
it's
I
my
learned
favorite
that.
number. So if a student contacts a faculty member and says, hey, I have to quarantine for 10 days, can we ask them for the note or the email from our COVID team that says they're out for 10 days?
Absolutely. And that note could be from our COVID team. It could be from the Erie County Department of Health. It could be from their medical provider. It can come from multiple different avenues.
Perfect. So
Great question.
my question came from, I had a student who was on a sports team, and some of the team members had to quarantine, but the student was vaccinated. The student was confused over the student thought the whole team had to isolate, which was not the case. It was just the non-vaccinated players. So that's why I asked. So I was able to say, all right, hey, did you get a note? No, I didn't. I'm like, all right, you're good to go. Come on in. Right? So that's another scenario that we could possibly have, that they might not realize that they're good to go if they're vaccinated and didn't get that note from any of the 3 places that Mark mentioned.
Colleen, if I can follow up, we've already had a couple of teams that have had that happen, and there's been a lot of confusion. So, somebody over here had a hand up. Mr. Rio, was it you? Nope. You?
Jim?
So if you have an entire class that's vaccinated, and faculty that's vaccinated, and one of them tests positive through some other...
You may not have to go into a 10-day may not have to. That's why our contact tracers have to interview. A lot of it also depends on what we consider an exposure. If you have anything under an hour, the health department doesn't consider that exposure. Unfortunately, everything we've dealt with in the last 3 days have been classes that are 1 hour and 15 minutes. I don't know if that was by design, but just some thought.
So if that exposure did occur for over an hour, potentially if one person tested positive in a class of fully vaccinated people, what would happen to that class exactly? How long would they have quarantine?
At most 10 days.
So I'm just going to repeat the question real quick, because I realize, Jim, you don't have a microphone.
The question was, if everybody was vaccinated in that class, what would be the possible isolation? Could possibly be 10 days. It may be 0. That's why the contact tracers have to talk to everybody. Maximum of 10 days.
Right, which is why it's also important to take attendance so that our contact tracers can do their job quickly and efficiently.
That's huge.
Through
Bill mentioned it.
Starfish.
I thank you for mentioning that. Because if we don't know who was in on the class that day, it's a lot of legwork to go back and recreate it. That's huge. Thank you.
Joanne, you got to go to the mic. Sorry, Amy, you're next.
This is a lot for my little question. So just for clarification, if they're all vaccinated, what makes the difference between, I'm still unclear on what makes the difference between if the whole class has to go or not, if everyone's vaccinated? Can you clarify that one more time? I'm sorry, that's on.
So Joanne, if I understand your question, what happens if the whole class is vaccinated? I can't stand up here and give you a blanket statement that nobody's going to have to isolate because I have to know what that one individual, if that one individual, say, what's your name? Dorothy. Thank you. If Dorothy has been vaccinated but has a breakthrough case, which we're seeing more and more of, and she's hacking up a storm, she's not going to be in that class. Could just be her, but I also have to know who she's been around. Certain classes, some of the mechatronic classes, Adium, I thought I saw you walk in. Some of those classes, the vehicle tech classes, they're very tight, they're very close. So I can't give you a blanket statement that it's always going to be none or it's always going to be everyone. It's going to depend on what happened in that hour and 15 minutes or that 2-hour class.
Right. Which also goes back to attendance, because what if Dorothy didn't come to school when she wasn't feeling well, and we got the call that said Dorothy has to quarantine, and we look it up through our contact tracing, and they're like, oh, you know what, she wasn't in school that day? That class is fine.
I'll let you ask the question to the mic.
Sorry.
And obviously, if someone has said it's hacking up the storm, they should not be here. But regardless if they did, I get that. But what if someone just tested positive?
What do you mean, did they just test positive? They tested positive. Again, I would have my contact tracers talk to them first. That's what we consider typically an asymptomatic case. I know I have friends, I don't have a family member, but I have friends who have gone to the hospital for outpatient surgery, and the next thing you know, they're testing everybody. What do you mean I have COVID? So,
All right. Amy?
I just was curious, because with the K through 12 schools, if they're within 3 feet of exposure for 15 minutes, that's when people are contacted. So is that different? It's an Erie County recommendation, so I'm just curious.
it's an Erie County recommendation, good point, for K through 12. Higher ed, SUNY does not have that recommendation. We don't have a spatial distance recommendation.
Right, and then the other thing with our elementary schools, the vaccine is not available for children under 12. So that's another scenario that we need to think about, because we have students that are, parents, and, they have a hard enough time getting daycare so they can come here. And if they're in school and their kid's got to quarantine for 10 days or whatever it is because of something that happens in an elementary school, we need to be ready for that, and we need to work with our students, right? And this is where that flexibility comes in. If a student misses a test because they're on quarantine, they should be able to make up the test, right? We need to be flexible with our assignments and flexible with all those things, because it's not like they're trying to pull a fast one on us, right? Because if they have a kid that's out, we can say, hey, do you have the note that came from wherever? And if they supply that with you, then it's not them that want to be gone 10 days. No one wants to be quarantining for 10 days and be out of it. It's a Erie County and a SUNY mandate. It's out of our students' control.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Sabrina?
I have.
It's okay.
I have several classrooms that are like lecture halls, and if you have the space in your classroom, would you then advise people to tell the students to spread out and maintain as much social distancing as possible?
Absolutely. See, there's multiple ways you can mitigate this pandemic. Vaccines, masking, social distancing, washing your hands, things like that. So if you have the space, by all means, spread them out. It's a good question.
Bill?
Hey, Mark, for future communications, both to faculty, staff, and students, we want to emphasize, as the young gentleman from SGA mentioned, Campus Clear should still be used because there are going to be a number of students that do not get vaccinated because of religious reasons or medical condition, but they still must test, and they should still do Campus Clear, as well as the staff. So we want to make sure we reemphasize the use of Campus Clear.
Absolutely, thank you. I have a question for the staff here, the faculty. How many of you are ready today? You know, we've only been in school for 6 days. How many of you are ready to pivot for a class tomorrow if you get a phone call from Amy, me, Chris Lauka, Renee tonight?
You guys are rock stars.
That's impressive.
Rock stars. Of course you're ready. You're amazing.
That's good.
Patty Kaiser.
And one of the things, particularly with our adjuncts who aren't hearing all of the information the rest of us are, is let your students know. Day one on the board, I put my name, I put the name of the class, and I said, COVID emergency plan. I am not going to lose my students this time. They were told exactly in my seated classes where to go and how to get there. We opened up Blackboard. I said, if we're not here, go there. Go there right away. Do not pass go, and I will find you. And if something happens, be in touch. Do not disappear on me. I'll hunt you down. And
She will. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that.
yeah, I probably should retire because I think particularly you don't even think about that. You're reviewing everything else the first week, and to say, God help us if we go remote or if something happens, this is the backup plan. Because the last time we didn't have the chance to show our students how to get to Blackboard. We just were sent home, they were just sent home, and at least half of mine never showed up again. I don't want to go through that again.
That's awesome. Thank you, Patty. What else? Is anyone else doing anything amazing that you feel you need to share so that if anyone has to pivot, they can use that as an example? Dave Uzinski?
So I've continued to record my lessons in the classroom, and to do this, I'm not on camera because there's no mobile camera to follow you around the room. I log into WebEx on my phone, put in an earbud, or an ear, whatever those things are called, ear pods, and then I log in on my computer on the desktop and hit record, and I'm using my earbud to record my lecture. And it's worked very well for the last 3 classes. So
Nice.
I can post those recordings for anyone who's not there.
That's awesome. Erickson?
And as a supplement to that, I know Derek and I even talked about, as part of our assessment within social sciences, we made these little podcasts that mirror our classes, and even for those that are in person, they find them extremely valuable to go back to and listen to as guidance for the class. So it's been, from the students' own mouths, like extremely helpful.
I'm going to cue Pat Ryan here. If you're going to post your WebEx lectures, post the link and not the file, because the file is going to clog up Blackboard and we don't have a whole lot of space there. So when you go to the share options on the side, there's a little do-to-do thing that gives you a link. I swear I didn't do it. It's like, it's 3:52 and 84 degrees, Colleen. Everybody's done. All right, I'm going to take a hint. But to close, remember our students. We have the possibility right now to reach them before they're gone. This is something we can control as faculty and staff. Call them, email them, reach out to them before you fill out that 3-week roster. Tracy Archie.
Hello, I just had one quick thing. I wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow marks the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month. It runs from September 15th through October 15th. We generally celebrate it through the end of October, but Just keep it in mind if there's an opportunity for you to celebrate with your students or your colleagues. Keep that in mind, incorporate it some kind of way into your workday or your students' curriculum for the month. I know that we can't do a lot with COVID, but look, check our community out to see what type of events you could participate in virtually or, locally in your neighborhood. So just remember that. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks.
Okay, so again, any students have a problem with the vaccination, send them to their deans of students. Call them, email them, reach out to them, and be prepared. And if you didn't talk to your students yet about what to do if we go remote, that is another assignment for you tomorrow. We'll see everybody in October. Have a lovely day on this warm September afternoon. Thank you.